Theruvan Saranai to all of you. Welcome to another program of Aloka Dhamma discussion where we talk about the issues and important points to our life, to our daily life as individuals, as mothers, fathers, parents and as kids, and how we can usefully use Buddhist preaching and practice successfully into our life. As always, today also we have Venerable Sandalanka Kalanadasana Thero and Venerable Kampasumanansa Thero with us in our studio, and with great respect I welcome both of you, sirs. We've been discussing about the success and how to become successful individual, and we discussed about last week the courage and courage to sacrifice. It is an important factor in becoming successful. It is important to put an effort and concentrate about your success. But even with a proper plan, with an effort, if you do not take care of yourself and if you do not prioritize what you have to do in becoming successful, you will never be able to achieve your dreams and become successful, which is a fact. So we have to first take care of ourselves and prioritize what we have to do in our path. Venerable Sumanansa Thero said, does Buddhism talks about taking care of ourselves, and according to Buddhism, is there a difference between taking care of ourselves and being selfish? Two sides, two questions actually.
With respect to Venerable Sandalanka Kalanadasana Thero, Mr. Karagal and dear devotees, in general, selfishness is concentrating excessively or exclusively with oneself by seeking or concentrating on one's own advantage, pleasure, or well-being without regards for others. But in Buddhism, selfishness is defined in a different manner. It is stated in the Anguttara Nikaya Chatukka Nipata Attahita Sutra as Attahitaya Patipanno no Parahitaya, Parahitaya Patipanno no Attahitaya, Ne Vattahitaya Patipanno no Parahitaya, Attahitaya cha Patipanno Parahitaya cha. The Lord Buddha has preached, Bhikkhus, there are 4 kinds of people found in the world. The first person is Attahitaya Patipanno no Parahitaya. There are some people who practice for their own welfare but not for the welfare of others. The second person is Parahitaya Patipanno no Attahitaya. There are some people who practice for the welfare of others but not for their own welfare. The third group of people is Ne Vattahitaya Patipanno no Parahitaya. There are people who practice neither for their own welfare nor for the welfare of others. The last group of people is Attahitaya cha Patipanno Parahitaya cha. There are some people who practice both for their own welfare and for the welfare of others. These are the 4 kinds of people found existing in the world. Dear devotees, if I further explain what kind of person the first one is, some people practice removing their own lust, hatred and delusion, but does not encourage others to remove theirs. It is in this way those people practice for their own welfare, but not for the welfare of others. The second group of people is, some people encourages others to remove lust, hatred and delusion, but does not practice removing their own lust, hatred and delusion. It is in this way those people practice for the welfare of others but not for their own welfare. The third group of people, some people do not practice removing their own lust, hatred and delusion, nor do they encourage others to remove this. And it is in this way those people practice neither for their own welfare nor for the welfare of others. The last group of people is, there are some people in this world who practice removing their own lust, hatred and delusion, and in the meantime they encourage others to remove theirs as well. It is in this way those people practice both for their own welfare and for the welfare of others. Mr. Karagala, the Lord Buddha has preached that someone who possesses Sila, Samadhi and Panya, virtue, concentration and wisdom, practices developing his mind both for his own welfare and for the welfare of others. This is done in 3 ways. First, someone who is accomplished in virtuous behavior encourages others to accomplish virtuous behavior. Then, secondly, someone accomplished in concentration encourages others to accomplish concentration. And lastly, someone who is accomplished in wisdom encourages others to accomplish wisdom. Dear devotees, when someone is virtuous, he is not only protecting himself, but he is also giving others assurance that they will not be harmed by him. As someone who follows Buddhism, he should have the intention to purge his own mind of anger and ill will. Take a moment to look at yourself and try to understand how you think and behave. This is the best method to understand human behavior and thoughts. For example, just as you are afraid of dying, other people are also afraid of dying. You don't need to read a book or need someone to teach you to understand this. Because of this, for example, when practicing loving kindness meditation, you should practice it on yourself first. Only then can you truly show compassion and extend loving kindness to others. Then you truly begin to be genuinely selfless. Cleansing yourself of selfishness is not a selfish activity. Dear devotees, according to Buddhism, we talk about the importance of taking care of ourselves, which is not prohibited. One can say that is selflessness. So one can say that that is selfishness. So don't be afraid to be selfish, so that you can be successful in both your day-to-day life and supramundane life, and finally attain enlightenment, and ultimately you can help and guide others.
So Venerable Sumaransu Thero explained about concentrating on the welfare of all, including our own welfare, and how can we help others through that. But there is an opposite of this as well. There's a possibility of not doing wrong things and helping others through that. Venerable Kalanadasana Thero, sir, is there any reference given to that in Buddhism?
Mr. Karagala, something very important that we need to know is that Lord Buddha first realized Dhamma and disciplined himself. Then only he preached the Dhamma to discipline others. This fact can be found in the Tripitaka as Dantoso Bhagava Dhammataya Dhammang Deseti. So from this we understand that first we need to learn the teachings of the Lord Buddha before we start to teach others. In the Majjhima Nikaya Salleka Sutta, Lord Buddha has given a great example for this. Someone who is stuck in the mud cannot free another person who is stuck in the same mud. So dear devotees, when someone observes the 5 precepts, he receives merits and makes a safe environment for others. For example, when someone refrains from stealing, he receives merits, and as a result of that, others' property or belongings are protected. So what he is doing here is he refrains from doing wrong so that he takes care of himself. So taking care of himself is not necessarily about being selfish, but what he is truly doing here is protecting not only himself but others as well. It is also stated in the Sikkhapada Sutta that there are 4 types of people in this world. The same way explained by our Gampaha Sumanawasa Thero. Some people abstain from killing living beings but does not encourage others to abstain from killing. They themselves abstain from taking what is not given, and they abstain from sexual misconduct, false speech, liquor, wine and intoxicants, but does not encourage others to abstain from them. It is in this way those people practice for their own welfare but not for the welfare of others. So-called Attahitaya Patipanno no Parahitaya. The second type, some people do not abstain from killing others themselves, but they encourage others to abstain from killing. They do not abstain from taking what is not given, and they do not abstain from sexual misconduct, false speech, liquor, wine and intoxicants, but encourage others to abstain from them. It is in this way those people practice for the welfare of others but not for their own welfare. Neva attahitaya patipanno parahitaya. Some people do not abstain themselves from killing living beings and does not encourage others to abstain from killing either. They themselves do not abstain from taking what is not given, and they do not abstain from sexual misconduct, false speech and having intoxicants, and do not encourage others to abstain from them. It is in this way those people practice neither for their own welfare nor for the welfare for others. Neva attahitaya patipanno no parahitaya. The last type, there are some people who abstain from killing others and encourages others to abstain from killing. They abstain from stealing, sexual misconduct, false speech, intoxicants, and encourage others to do so as well. It is in this way those people practice welfare for both them and others. Attahitaya cha parahitaya cha. So finally I would say, according to Buddhism, this is how a person should be selfish by taking care of himself or herself, so that they can get benefits for both themselves and for the other people who associates with him.
So well, we've been in discussion about the characteristic feature as individual we should have in going towards our success. The features like the mindfulness, courage, looking after our welfare and not doing the wrong things, and how Buddhism is helping us in achieving those characteristics as individuals. So I would like to turn the discussion about being successful towards another factor, which is the environment where we are living in. As human beings, we learn through experience, and most importantly from the people with whom we are associating. If we associate with foolish people, we will automatically develop the character of foolish people. That is a fact. Venerable Sumanawasa Thero sir is Buddhism highlighting the negative impacts and drawbacks of associating with foolish people.
Mr. Karagala, it is taught in the Mahamangala Sutta as Asevanacha Balanam Panditanancha Sevanam Pujacha Pujaniyanam Etam Mangalam Uttamam, which means not to associate with the foolish, but to associate with the wise, and to honor those who are worthy of honor, this is the greatest blessing. Dear devotees, a very famous example for what happens when someone associates with foolish people is the story of King Ajasattha. As we know, King Ajasattha had the qualities to understand the teachings of the Lord Buddha and attain enlightenment. But unfortunately, he met Devadatta Thero. What happened there was Devadatta Thero wanted to kill the Lord Buddha so that he can become a Buddha. And the Devadatta Thero wanted Ajasattha to become the king so that he can use Ajasattha to get rid of the Lord Buddha. Because of this, the Thero encouraged Ajasattha to kill his father, King Bimbisara. Devadatta Thero convinced Ajasattha that even though the King Bimbisara made him the crown prince, he is probably planning to get rid of Ajasattha by assassinating him. After hearing this, Ajasattha was convinced that if he wanted to become the king, he needed to kill his father. After making up his mind, he inhumanly tortured his father. For example, he split his father's feet and put salt in the wound. By doing these kinds of inhuman deeds, he eventually killed his father. Because he committed one of the 5 gravest sins, Anantari Papakamma, killing of one's father, although he had the qualities to become enlightened, his path was completely blocked for hundreds of thousands of years while he had to suffer in hell. Dear devotees, from this you should understand how much suffering you will have to face if you associate with foolish people or unwise people like Devadatta Thero. Your path to become an Arhat could be completely blocked for many lives, and you might have to suffer immense pain for an eon, kalpa, in hell. Mr. Karagala, another negative impact of associating with foolish people is mentioned in the Dhammapada Sukhavagga as Bala Sangata Charihi Diga Maddana Sochati Dukkho Balehi Sangvaso Amitteneva Sabbada Dhirocha Sukha Sangvaso Jnatinang Samosukam. Dear devotees, a person who keeps company with the ignorant will grieve over a long period of time. Associating with the ignorant is like keeping company with one's own enemy. It always leads to grief. On the other hand, keeping company with the wise is like a reunion with one's family. It always leads to happiness. There will always be disadvantages and negative impacts when associating with foolish people. For example, your morality or virtue will decline. Not only that, your concentration and wisdom will be reduced by associating with such people. Mr. Karagala, there is a saying that if you are the wisest person in the room, then you are in the wrong room. Don't misunderstand this statement and think that it means you shouldn't teach others, because usually the teacher is the smartest person in the room. But what this statement means is that if you want to develop yourself, you should always try to associate with people who are smarter or wiser than you, or at least at the same level. When you do so, you can always learn something new. But when you always associate with foolish people, it will only lead to your downfall, as you cannot learn anything new. Dear devotees, a doctor's son will most likely try to become a doctor. An engineer's son will most likely try to become an engineer. In the same manner, a gangster's son will most likely try to become a gangster. Why does this happen? That is because of the type of people they associate with. If you associate with good people, you will become a good person. For example, if you go to the temple and talk with the monks or devotees about the Dhamma, you will become a wholesome person. Whereas on the other hand, if you associate with bad people like gangsters, drunkards or drug addicts, you will also become unwholesome like them. As Buddhists, I hope you will always associate with wise people.
So Venerable Sumanasa Thero spoke about and explained the negative impact of associating foolish people and mention towards the end that as Buddhists we should associate with wise people. It's true, it is possible because it's not only foolish people is around us in the environment. There are wise people as well. There are definite benefits we can get and which will push us towards our success if and when we have an association with wise people. Venerable Kalana Dasana Theros, according to Buddhism, what are the benefits of associating wise people?
Mr. Karagala, an example for the benefits can be found in the Sattikumbha Jataka story. The Bodhisattva was once a parrot. He and his brother were born to a parrot king in a high remote forest. One day, a whirlwind arose and blew the young brothers away. The Bodhisattva landed in a monastery and his brother fell into a village full of thieves. They grew up in these new homes. Later, the king at that time went deer hunting with a large group of people. Their servants beat bushes to rouse up animals, and a deer rushed right past the king before he could shoot it. The other hunters mocked the king for his failure. Unable to tolerate their jokes, the conceited king took after the deer in his chariot, determined to catch it. The king and his charioteer rode until midday before giving up and turning back. They stopped in a little valley near the thieves' village, taking a bath and a nap. All the thieves were away, leaving only their cook and the parrot behind in the village. The parrot saw the king and brought the thief over to help rob and kill him. The king awoke and overheard the two discussing their plans from afar. He woke charioteer and they quickly left. The king then came upon the monastery and was welcomed warmly by the Bodhisattva parrot, with fruits and seeds to eat and cool cave water to drink. The king was relieved by the parrot's kind words and told him of the evil parrot he'd just encountered. The Bodhisattva revealed that they were brothers and they have absorbed the habits of the people around them. One violence and deceit, and the other parrot was kind and self-control. It was an insightful lesson for the king, and when the ascetics returned, he invited them to come and live under his care in the royal park. He also declared immunity from capturing all parrots across the kingdom. The king provided facilities for this group of ascetics until his final days, and so did his descendants through several generations. From this, we understand how a person's association determines their future and what kind of person they will become. Lord Buddha has also preached that people with similar qualities will group together. In the connected discourses, Sangyukta Nikaya, Chankama Sutta, it is given, on one occasion the Blessed One was dwelling at Rajagaha on Mount Gijjakuta. On that occasion, not far from the Blessed One, the Venerable Sariputta was walking back and forth with a number of bhikkhus. And the Venerable Mahamoggallana, the Venerable Mahakassapa, Venerable Anuruddha, Venerable Punnamantaniputta, and Venerable Upali, also Venerable Ananda, were walking back and forth with a number of bhikkhus, their disciples. And not far from the Blessed One, Devadatta Thero was also walking back and forth with some sort of group of bhikkhus. Then the Blessed One addressed the bhikkhus thus: all those bhikkhus walking back and forth with Sariputta Thero and of great wisdom, all those with Mahamoggallana Thero are of great spiritual powers. All those with Mahakassapa Thero are ascetic practitioners, Dutangadari. All those with Anuruddha Thero possesses the divine eye, and so on. Lastly, all those walking back and forth with Devadatta has evil thoughts. Bhikkhus, it is by the way of elements that beings come together and unite. Those of an inferior nature come together and unite with those of an inferior nature. Those of a good nature come together and unite with those of a good nature. In the past, they did so. Now, at present, they do so. And in the future, they will do so too. This is said by the Lord Buddha. Now, dear devotees, it is clear, if one is willing to improve himself or be successful, definitely he should associate with people who are wiser than him. I am not saying to distance yourself from unwise people, but to associate them wisely by trying to improve them while providing necessary assistance. But don't get stuck in the mud yourself while trying to save them.
So it's very clear, according to Buddhist teaching, when you associate with the foolish people, that you will not learn anything. And as Venerable Kalanadasana Thero clearly explained with and through an example, and when you associate with fools, unintentionally you would start developing character and the behavior of the fool. And the biggest problem of that is the people who see you from outside will start considering you also as a fool. So that definitely will slow down your progress and make you fail. So it is our responsibility as individual to pick and associate with wise, and as corporate leaders, it's our responsibility to pick and make sure that you pick the right and wise team members into your team. That will make a better and productive team, and at the end that will make you and all of us better leaders. So we come to an end of another valuable discussion of Aloka Dhamma discussion, where we discuss the practicality of the Buddhism and how we can practically apply the Buddhism into our daily life. And as always, I would like to thank on behalf of JAYA TV and Malasekara Foundation to Venerable Sandalanka Kalanadasana Thero and Venerable Gampa Sumanansa Thero to being here with us and sharing their wealth of knowledge across the globe. And may Triple Gem bless both of you, sirs, in doing your noble work. And everybody who have listened and listen to us and watch us in these 30 minutes, may Triple Gem bless all of you with their one sarmai.